Hi, I'm Dr. Jason Farman, and welcome to American Studies 429L, The Documented Life, Constructing Our Digital Identities. And today I'm actually talking here at the Claremont Colleges in Southern California. This is the town that I grew up in, and I did my graduate work here. I got my master's degree from Claremont. I'm here visiting family, and I thought it would be a great place to start off the class, thinking about the relationship between documentation and our personal identities, as well as the things and places that we grew up with and grew up in. And for me, it was fitting to be here because in this first week what we're talking about is the relationship of documentation and personal identity. And this is a place that means a lot to me. So I thought I'd start here and talk a little bit about the reasons why I started this class and some of the goals that I hope we'll reach by the end of the summer term. And also give you a sense of how the class as an online class is going to be structured and the assignments that you'll be doing throughout the semester. So I created the course because my area of research is in mobile technologies and their impact on culture. And for me, the thing that I'm seeing increasingly more and more are people using their mobile devices to document the world around them in really unprecedented levels. And for me, I'm really interested in the question, if we're documenting something with our device, does that mean we're not actually engaging it in as deep or meaningful a way as we possibly could be? And I'm really interested in that question. I'm interested in your own answers to that question. And hopefully we'll be able to figure out some nuance to that question and those inquiries. And I'm also really interested in, over the last several years, people have been going to the nosebleed seats at concerts and taking out their cell phones and recording what are sort of the performers as little specks down at the bottom, and then they upload this horrible quality footage to YouTube. And I'm interested in why. Why do people go through that process of capturing really low quality video that's almost unintelligible and then sharing that with people? What is the value in that? And what is the value in liveness, actually? What's the value of going to something synchronous? This is really interesting as this is an online class and there is very little, if any, synchronicity to what we're doing. And usually we talk about the university as being valuable because we're all in the same place at the same time. What happens when asynchronicity comes up? And lastly, I'm really interested in thinking about documentation. As a parent, I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I document their lives, thousands and thousands of photographs worth. And if you compare that to my own childhood, growing up here in Claremont, I have next to no documentation of my childhood. So I'm interested in this emerging generation that is going to have so much documentation of their lives. What's the impact going to be on their memories of growing up? Will those mediatization, those mediatized tools and objects of memory actually affect the ways that they remember? So hopefully we'll get at some of those questions throughout this course. We'll also look at how we're also leaving digital traces of ourselves around. How we're tracking each other, how we're participating in participatory surveillance, and also that we're leaving digital traces of ourselves in so many ways. So I'm curious about what's going to happen to those digital traces and how they get incorporated into our own identity practices. So what I want to do is look through the syllabus in detail and go over the way that the course is structured and the things that we're going to be talking about. So if you could open up the syllabus, we'll take a look at it. And the best way to get a hold of me throughout the semester is through Gmail, jasonfarman@gmail.com. And that's where you'll be emailing me your assignments. The rest of the course takes place in Canvas. That's the entire site of the class. That's our room. That's where we meet. Every single day is on Canvas, as well as a couple of other sites. But all the quizzes and material are located on Canvas. And if you scroll down to required text, you'll notice that there is no textbook for the class. All of the course readings are available under the files part of Canvas. Okay, for the grade breakdown, you're going to be using Twitter twice a day, Monday through Friday, to respond to the readings and to respond to each other. And I'm going to go over that in detail. That's worth 15% of your grade. You'll also be taking quizzes on Canvas for every day that there's readings, and that's worth 15% of your grade. you're going to be creating an actor network map. And for the rest of these assignments, I'm going to give you a detailed prompt for what I'm expecting you to do. The actor network map is essentially, you're going to be looking at a moment of documentation and tracing all of the different actors that exert pressure on that one instance of taking something like an Instagram photograph, thinking about the corporation of Instagram, the relationship to Facebook. You'll be thinking about mobile devices, cultural norms of documentation. You'll be thinking about the situation, the visual norms of a culture, and thinking about all of the various actors and things and cultures and ideas and ideals that exert pressure on a single act of documentation. You're going to sketch out this visualization of how these things all interconnect. You're also going to be doing an assignment called To Document or Not to Document, where you're going to go to 2 events that are important to you. The first one you're going to document as extensively as you possibly can. The second event that you go to, you're not going to document it at all. And you're going to write a short reflection on these 2 experiences and how the act of documentation might actually relate to memory and to your own expectations of what it means to be in a live event. We're going to be doing some tracking and mapping of each other. We're going to spend a week, a day, 1 week later on in the summer, where we're going to follow each other throughout the day and know where each other is at, hopefully in synchronous time, as a way to know where we are in the world right now. I'm in California. I'll be here for the week, but actually later on in our summer semester I'll actually be in Australia, so it'll be interesting to see where you guys are and what you're doing throughout a day of our summer semester. You're going to be doing a medium-specific analysis. That's going to be worth 10% of your grade, where you're going to think about how the medium affects the act of documentation and affects where it's situated within culture, knowing that a diary is different from a photograph and a video. You're going to be doing selfies and reflection paper, and that's going to be a summer term long project, and I'll get into detail about that. That's worth 15% of your grade. And you're going to be doing a capstone. And for this capstone, what I want you to do is start documenting something in your life. It can be anything at this moment, and I'd like you to document it over the next 6 weeks. And I'll give you some details about that later this week. And what I want you to do is then, at the end of the semester, turn that into something. Turn it into some sort of larger project that accumulates all of those documentations and visualizes them in some way, or thinks about what can be done with documentation in the digital age. And you'll write a short statement about that piece. I've given you a sense of plagiarism and the policies with that, and you're all familiar with that, but in a sense, even sloppy plagiarism will get you where you're not citing things accurately just out of by accident or laziness, and that'll get you a 0 on an assignment with the opportunity to rewrite it and redo it for a C. Intentional plagiarism will get you a 0 on the assignment and possibly an XF in the course, which is a F for academic dishonesty. Okay, talking about Twitter in a little more detail, you'll need a Twitter account to interact with the course, and this can't be a private Twitter account, it has to be open. Most people will designate a Twitter account just for this course, create one just for this class. And I'd encourage you to do that, especially if you're a heavy Twitter user and you tweet thousands upon thousands of tweets. You may want to create one just for this course. Please send me your Twitter usernames, and also make sure that your icon on Twitter is a photograph of yourself. Since it's an online class, I want us to be able to connect with each other and put a face to the actions that are going on and the statements that are being made. And you're going to be tweeting twice a day, Monday through Friday, for this course. The first one's going to be a response to the readings. And this is expanding on the readings, not simply repeating them. It is something you find interesting, but it's engaging with the readings. It's maybe arguing with them, disagreeing, or finding a way to expand the ideas that are in the readings at hand. It could also be sending us to a link that's of relevance to that topic. The second tweet is going to be a response to another classmate. Using the @ symbol, you're going to use that person's Twitter handle and respond to them. And respond to an idea that they put out there to at least get us in conversation with each other. If the value of the university is us drawing on the diverse range of perspectives of the students, then an online class doesn't do that very well. It's me talking at you in this video right now. So what I'm hoping to do is tap into the wide range of backgrounds and ideas that you guys have to then give you a fuller sense of the perspectives on this topic. So Twitter is going to be used for that, to get you in conversation with each other in sort of an easy way to do it. 140 characters, respond to each other back and forth, and that's going to be your second tweet for the day. So 2 tweets a day, Monday through Friday, 1 for the readings and 1 in conversation with or in response to a student's post. Okay, every tweet that you post must include the hashtag AmSt429L. If it doesn't have that in that, I can't count it for the class. You can redo it that same day if you accidentally forget it, but essentially I'm doing a search for AmSt429L, and it needs to be included in every tweet that you post. Your baseline score for Twitter is 10 points. That means if you tweet twice a day, Monday through Friday, regardless of quality, you'll get credit. And the remaining 5 points for this, for a total of 15%, is the quality of this. How well are you engaging this? How much time are you giving to Twitter, for a total of 15% for the course. You will have quizzes nearly every day of the class, and please check back frequently on Canvas for videos that I might post, and also to take the daily quiz for the readings for that day. So what I'd like to do now is go over the schedule for the class, the topics that we'll cover in the readings that you'll look at. For week 1, we're looking at mediatized memories. What's the relationship between memory and the tools that we use to mediatize and document those memories? And we'll begin today with looking at the film Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is on Canvas under Modules and Online Course Reserves. And what I want you to look out for in this film is to think about what is the relationship between memories and objects. And for your own life, to then reflect also about what is the relationship between your memories and the objects in your life that act as gateways to those memories, or stand-ins, or even ways of remembering that become so intertwined with the memories themselves that perhaps they're inseparable. And we're going to then look in, expand that to thinking about acts of mediatization broadly and what the relationship between memory and media are. And we're ending by looking at this debate within performance studies from the theater world, which is very much right now and continuing to be in contention about the role of documentation in the theater. Many people feel that theater is essentially all of us, or even concerts, all of us getting together, and that's the power of it. We're all in that same place together, sitting there, experiencing this performance simultaneously. And as soon as you document it, you set it into asynchronous modes of engagement, it becomes something other than performance. And so I'm interested in exploring the relationship between documentation and a sense of liveness and a sense of the cultural value that we give the live. In week 2, we're going to look at the rise of ubiquitous photography. We're going to look at the rise of personal cameras in public spaces and increasing documentation throughout history and the impacts that that's had on constructions of identity and place, and thinking about ultimately the role that cameras play even in your own lives. That probably, if you've got a cell phone on you, which probably most people do. I've only had 2 students so far since I've been teaching who haven't had a cell phone on them, and they've decided to not have a cell phone because they didn't want that tethered life, not simply because they couldn't afford the phone. And now most people have a cell phone in their lives that has a camera in it. And since 2007, my students have, across the board, had cell phones with cameras. And a camera is something you probably carry with you throughout the day. So looking into the impacts of cameras being everywhere, a part of our lives, is something I will look at that week. And your Actor Network map is due that Friday. Week 3, we're going to look at selfies, authenticity, and identity, and thinking about self-portraiture as practices of identity. And we will then move into looking at issues of authenticity and that word authenticity and identity practice. For week 4, we are looking at practices of performing the self and how that relates to participatory surveillance, with the fact that we're constantly posting documentation of ourselves for others to watch on sites like Facebook. And how does this play into performances and practices of personal identity? and your medium-specific analysis is due that week. Week 5, we're going to be looking at leaving traces of ourselves, tracking each other, and how we're making location a part of our documented lives as well. And we end the course by thinking about, where do we go from here? What's the archive? What do we do with all this documentation in the future? What's that going to look like with all of the data that we're leaving behind? What are we doing with that? So thinking about this in terms of cultural heritage for sites that hope to archive their personal stories and how that's being done in a digital age, all the way through to thinking about, what do we do with all these bits of data on hard drives and servers around the world in the coming years, when this is just increasingly growing pile of data. How do we deal with this massive archive? And we'll end the course Friday, July 11th with you turning in your Selfies assignment with the reflection paper, and your final capstone project and statement is due then as well. So what I'd like to do is go over the Selfies assignment that you're going to be doing throughout the duration of the summer course. So on Canvas, if you click on Assignments and then click on Selfies and Reflection Paper, you'll get a detailed prompt there for this assignment. So please look at that, and I'll follow along with you through the prompt. And I'm going to give you a prompt like this for every assignment, so it gives you a sense of what I'm looking for. And what's fascinating to me is that between 2012 and 2013, the word selfie increased by 17,000% in usage and became the word of the year for Oxford dictionaries. However, we've had self-portraiture as an artistic practice for hundreds of years, and this to me is interesting. What's unique about selfies as we take them now versus other forms? And I want to investigate that a little bit. So this assignment is going to ask you to take a selfie of yourself Monday through Friday within the constraints of that week. Each week has a theme for that selfie, so we don't simply have the same picture over and over again over the next 6 weeks. This week's theme is identity. All of your selfies need to somehow reflect who you are to us. This is also a way for us to get to know each other, since we are not face-to-face, and it's a way of being able to connect with each other, know who we are a little bit better, and tap into the diversity of our backgrounds and experiences during the summer course. And I'll ask you to sign up for an Instagram account if you have a smartphone, and please send me that username. If you don't have a smartphone, you'll post to Twitter using a digital camera. You'll take your selfie and then upload it to Twitter. Either way, you'll need to include the course hashtag AmSt429L, and then also the hashtag for that week's theme. And this week, the hashtag is identity. And for me, for example, I'm going to be leaving you right now. I'm going to go and take a selfie of myself here at Claremont, which has a lot of resonance for my own personal identity, where I grew up. And I'm going to post it to Instagram and be a part of this as well. I'm going to be taking selfies along with you throughout the next 6 weeks, which is extremely uncomfortable for me. I'm not very good at selfies. I don't take them usually. I think I don't look very great in selfies. But I'm really interested in this. I'm interested in immersing myself in the culture of the selfie to understand it a little bit better, to be able to critique it thoughtfully and with a little bit of personal knowledge about my own experiences with the selfie. Many of you will probably feel the same way, a bit uncomfortable taking a photograph of yourself and posting it for strangers online or people you don't know in this class. And I would just encourage you to approach it with the same attitude of being able to give yourself the tools to thoughtfully critique the culture of the selfie, even though it might not be something you practice normally on a day-to-day basis. So this week, each selfie must reflect some aspect of your identity, objects or places that reflect who you are as a person. And that can be interpreted broadly. At the end of the course, what you're going to do is write a 3 to 5 page reflection paper on your experience taking selfies. And in this paper, as I note here, you must analyze the role that selfies play in identity construction, personally and culturally, and also reflect on the medium specificity of selfies on Instagram or Twitter with a digital camera, which are topics we'll cover. Excuse me. And you may ultimately also comment on the more unsavory sides of the selfie, like narcissism, or the positive sides of the selfie, such as identity construction and activism. Many people use selfies in their communities as modes of activism, as representation in realms where people aren't typically represented. So this project's worth 15% of your grade, and I want to show you the week-by-week breakdown for the selfies. Again, this week is identity, things, activities, places that reflect and define who you are. Next week, we're going to be actually looking at photography skills, thinking about the actual practice of photography and honing in some of those. So your selfies will actually be practices of good photography, such as the rule of thirds, using negative space, and different shading and different spacing. And it's just a practice to take good photographs. And the hashtag for that is photo skills. Week 3, where are you that week? Show us. Every day, show us a little bit of the place that you are for that week. And the hashtag for that is tour. Day 4 is day in the life, your work, your leisure. What does a typical day look like in summer for you? And the hashtag for that is day in the life, one word. Social selfies for week 5. Every selfie you take has to include another person that you're with. The hashtag for that is social selfie. And the last week is to rethink the selfie. Do it differently than you've done for the previous 5 weeks and rethink what a selfie could be. And the hashtag for that is rethink the selfie. And I'll look forward to seeing those as well. So please, for today, watch the movie Eternal Sunshine. Send me your Twitter usernames and send me your Instagram usernames as well. And please let me know if you have any questions at this point. I look forward to a great class with you. Bye-bye.